communities are using Ethermail to kind of get rid of Discord.
It's very important to understand how brands operate and Web 2 brands versus Web 3 brands. Now, the other guys, as you said correctly, it's about exclusivity. So, of course, the brand has to control that image.
Do you think we're on that run now?
I think we have a misconception about what blockchain really is. Perhaps blockchain was never made for humans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps it was made actually for AI. And then if you think about communities, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
You can't control what's happening there because everybody talks about everything all the time. And even if you have the best moderator, I think it's just super difficult to just control people. And you always have the occasional outbursts and so on. So brands basically realize, number one, we can't really control the narrative on these Discord and Twitter and so on. So number two is they're all used to a communication via email, full stop. Every brand and every company in the world will have on their website a sign-in with your newsletter. They wouldn't have a sign-in with your Telegram or sign-in with your WhatsApp.
Yeah.
They would have a sign-in with your email, full stop. So, and that's of course for them really good because they can manage the communication. It's one-to-one communication. Yeah. I can individualize my text message to you, Chris, basically, and say, listen, you have bought this product from me, and then it's personalized message, and only you see this actually. And then the interesting thing is now what we are seeing, and we just launched this actually. So you still want to have the social part around it, because the social, of course, gives you free reach in a certain way. So we are solving it in a way that we basically, within the email, we allow a viral snippet. So you as a user, you receive the email, you can share a part of that on your Twitter basically or on your social.
Right.
You kind of piggyback on the brand's name and so on, but it's on your social. So you speak about it essentially.
So it's a way for you to also communicate that you're part of this exclusive bit.
Exactly, exactly. So you're kind of borrowing the authenticity and the image what you get from the brand, and you can then push it basically on your own social media.
And then, but then the brands don't have to worry about, like, if there's one person that's got a problem, they just deal with one person. It's not a chain of events that can occur in a Discord.
And we all know how this goes. Yeah, it just hypes itself up. Yeah, I also had this, and I also had this, and then it becomes a whole fucking nightmare to manage based by my language.
Absolutely. So for anyone, I'm going to go back now. So anyone that doesn't know Ethermail, can you give the quick pitch? If you're not across this, you need to get across this anyway.
Yeah. So essentially, it's a kind of a marketplace, I would say. So it's senders and receivers, and it's about email. So what we have on the one side is a Web3 email. It's basically your wallet address at ethermail.io, and it connects the payment abilities and identification abilities of a wallet with the email communication protocol. The beauty is everything works with your normal email protocol, so I can receive in my Gmail and so on the emails. So that's number one. We have about 2.5 million users now. They're all viral, and it's just. And by the way, we had a total of 45 million wallets registered so far. Wow. But eventually we boiled it down to 2.5 million real users, because the truth is the industry always thinks it's huge, but the truth is 90% are bots essentially.
Right. So, and because I got 5 wallets.
Exactly. Everybody at least. Or even more basically. And then don't forget all the bots who are creating constantly wallets basically to participate in all the airdrops and everything. Right. So it's huge. There was actually A16Z came out with a report. I think it was last year in December or something, and they estimate that the real number of users is between 30 and 50 million people who actually really are in Web3 and in blockchain, which is very low compared to all the other figures, which is whatever 3, 4, 500 million, which I don't believe.
Yeah.
So email on the one side, and basically allows you, for example, to send token emails. It's all encrypted. It's a little bit like Proton, but one step further developed, basically everything based on the blockchain encryption, everything. And then the other part, and that's the important part, is we also have the business side, where essentially companies on the one hand can advertise to users. So me as a user, I can opt in proactively to say, either I only want to have emails from companies I have, for example, NFT or token with. That's the new cookie, as we call it. Or I decide I'm open also to promotional emails, for example, based on my wallet contents. Yeah. And then basically I would get promotional emails based on wallet contents. What we do is we take 50% of the revenues of the companies and give it back in the form of the email token to the users. And then the other part is what we just briefly touched on already, is like a CRM system for companies to manage email lists based on on-chain data. So I can segment and say, okay, I want to send an email to all token holders, all my 10% token holders, for example, or everybody who has my token and a Bored Ape, for example. And so on.
Great, all my friends and my NFTs are there, but like I don't want everyone to see like I've got $3 in there.
Exactly, 100%.
So it's kind of like, all right, but then yeah, I would want, you know, my my health data to go to my doctor or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
I think it boils down to we're going to get to that level where you as a user basically then say, okay, there's a request from this provider and they want access to your data.
Got it.
And then you say, yes, I approve this request, and then it's public in that moment for this person or this company
makes
to interact with it.
perfect sense. Kind of like when you're confirming a transaction or whatever.
Exactly.
Amazing. And then I guess part B or whatever that question is like unstoppable domain, some of the partnerships that you did and kind of the benefits. Yeah, but your growth, your story of growth.
Growth. So we got lucky that really the growth happened without us doing a lot, because essentially people started inviting friends. And let's be honest, of course, initially they all wanted to get the token basically. So that was a prime reason to basically be a member basically. And of course, the more members you got, the more token you got. Full stop. I mean, let's be honest about it, that's affiliate basically. And then of course people started using it more for their normal day-to-day use and so on. And some people are just still using it just to receive promotional emails. So we thought, and probably it's right, but then we kind of had probably still the wrong view on it a little bit. We thought, okay, so if we give the token basically to all the users who have been with us from the very beginning, before TGE, they're just going to dump on us essentially, right? And then we basically said, okay, we also at the time we didn't really know 100% how many bots out there and so on, because it was really complicated to get from the 45 million or whatever to the real users basically. So we said, okay, let's be cautious on this. We want to have long-term holders. We are long-term oriented, and I know that in this industry sometimes it's anachronistic, you could say basically. But we said, okay, let's make sure the real people basically get the token, but we can't really do it before TGE. We had to do the TGE at one moment also because it was the right opening. We said, okay, fine, let's just give it to them afterwards. Then we do the KYC and everything, it's going to be fine. But we underestimated, I think, that the community really was hoping for getting the token before, and then, of course, being able, on the upside, just to sell into the market and generate money. Yeah. Which is a fair point, which again is not our interest that people just dump on us, but I understand the point that of course the community somehow wanted to have that. And probably we should have done that a bit better, and we didn't probably manage also communication-wise good enough. And I think then a lot of people were really unhappy with us, and we recognized that, and we basically said, okay, we have to improve it now. And then we're in the process of making it good, let's say, up and making it up for the people. So that's number one. I think number two on the TGE, we basically said, okay, let's control supply. Anyways, our logic is that supply in our ecosystem only happens if there's more users, which, in my opinion, any company should think about a, let's say, milestone-based unlock instead of a time-based unlock. Because I always look at token, if there's a reason for a token, it's like money in a monetary system, right? Yeah. And the central bank isn't printing money just because. They're printing money because the economy is increasing, for example. It just needs more money, for example. But if the economy is shrinking, they actually would take money out of the system normally. So here it's the same thing, basically. We unlock based on user milestones.
Yeah, but that's what it is, right? It's early.
Yeah.
We're just early.
Yeah, it's super early, basically. It's like internet 98 or 97.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people using it, okay, but I mean, e-commerce came in 2003 or whatever, in 2001 or 2.
Yeah. So is that like, do you think we're on that run now? Do you think we're on that run now to kind of mass adoption?
No, I don't see it yet. No, I think now we are again in the next bubble of meme coins. We're like NFTs 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. Yeah. Now it's meme coins, okay, and then there will be next one, and then a lot of people are going to go in, and then a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money, and then they go out again. Yeah. So the truth is, I think we have a misconception about what blockchain really is. Yeah. Eventually, blockchain is an underlying technology layer. If you look at Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, in Web 1 it was your local PC basically, which was a data layer. In Web 2, it's your cloud more or less. In Web 3, it will be the blockchain. But did you ever care in your Web 1 layer how the data and the floppy disk looked like? No, you didn't, right? Yeah. So we now think, okay, we have to care about this layer. But the layer up there actually is AI. That's the truth. And I think that will really drive mass adoption. So we will tell our AI agent to do certain things. And the AI agent actually will use in the back end a lot of blockchain-based applications. It will have a wallet, it will have an email, for example, and it will just interact.
That's already starting.
Exactly. And then, of course, that's where you also need a monetary system and so on. So perhaps blockchain was never made for humans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps it was made actually for AI.
Yeah.
They need a communication mechanism, basically. You just have to make sure that it actually also is it's just not all fake, let's say. But there's no reason why your AI shouldn't, for example, as you said correctly, execute a trade or buy an NFT on your behalf and so on. And then I don't really care. If I have sent the email, for example, as an advertiser to your bot, and the bot decides to buy that NFT, for example, because it just thinks it's a great investment, I don't care, right? It doesn't really matter. So we are now actually opening up that part where we allow AI agents essentially to have an identity in an email communication. And just to finish on this one is,
don't finish on it.
No, but it boils down to communication protocols. So AI agents will have to speak to each other. And of course, in the normal way, in the normal IT logic, you would have APIs, which basically are connecting different agents. But the truth is, again, also APIs, you have to agree on standard interfaces and how the agent speaks to each other and so on. Truth is, email is already a standard communication protocol. It's the oldest one in internet, basically, because since the 70s, or basically it has been around. And we believe actually it's a protocol which can be used by humans, because humans understand it, and it can be used by AI agents. So why not use this one? And it's something which is, again, decentralized. Nobody owns it. It's just a protocol.
Thank you for listening to Overnight Success. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our guests and learning about their inspiring journeys. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe and share it with your friends. And remember, with hard work and dedication, anything is possible.